Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Bible. My name is Rogan, and you are watching The Mysterious Stoner in Ebola. Now, we've got a lot to cover in today's episode. We are finishing the last of the book of Genesis, and then I've got some announcements to share with you at the very end, because after this episode, we're going to be switching things up a bit for the month of December. And I'm going to go ahead and apologise right now in case you hear anything coming over the microphone, because, I currently rent a room, and it's in a basement, and there are children that live here. And one of them is extremely loud and full of energy. So, and he has an older sister, which, of course, occasionally, how they don't get it. They wouldn't get along all the time naturally. So if you hear any screaming, he is a drama queen, let me tell you. So if you hear any stomping, screaming, or anything, please just ignore it. Hopefully, he will be quiet as we continue. So, where did we leave off with Joseph? He had interpreted the dream of Pharaoh. He had worked his way up through being a manager for Potiphar, the captain of the guard for Pharaoh, managing that man's house. And then he was thrown into prison, but he rose up to be the top prisoner, running a lot of shit in the prison. And then he has been promoted for interpreting the Pharaoh's dream to be second in command over all of Egypt. And is also specifically in charge of taking care of the food and everything that's been harvested over the previous 7 years. The previous 7 years have been very good, as according to the dreams, but now the famine is here, and the famine is also 7 years long. But thanks to Joseph and his work and everything that he's done, Egypt is doing just fine. Back home, where Joseph is from, I'm assuming they're somewhere in Canaan. It doesn't really matter for the story, but back wherever Jacob and the rest of his sons are, they're getting hit by the famine, and it's bad, and they need food. So Jacob says to his sons, "All right, I hear they've got food down in Egypt, so get your shit together and go get us some damn food before we all starve to death." The 10 older brothers all pack up their things and they go to Egypt. And they get there, and of course Joseph is running the show for selling food and making sure everyone gets a appropriate proportion and everything. He is seeing it directly himself, and he sees his brothers coming and he recognizes them. But it's been so long. It's a wonder that he recognizes them. I guess they hadn't changed too extremely much. Or he's got a really good memory or something. But he recognizes them, but they do not recognize him. They have no idea who he is. And Joseph manages to compose himself. And then, I don't know why Joseph decided to do this, but he didn't reveal himself to them right away. He played the part of just some foreign Egyptian. He even spoke through an interpreter to them. And he starts accusing them of being spies. And they start freaking out. And they're protesting. They're saying, no, 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 seriously, we're not spies. We're all sons of the same guy. And Joseph is asking them some questions here and there, trying to get some answers about his father and his other brother, but he's doing it in such a way to try and make his brothers prove themselves that they are. Well, I mean, he knows they're not spies, but he's totally 100% fucking with them. Joseph ends up holding them up for 3 whole days. I can't imagine what must have been going through the brothers' minds. But they were locked up and were, well, withheld from leaving or from getting their food. But on the 3rd day, Joseph comes to them and he says, all right, gentlemen, I have decided that, well, if you're really not spies, then here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sell you the food that you want, but you're going to leave one of your brothers here. He's going to stay here, and you are going to go back to your father. And that younger brother you mentioned that you had, bring him with you next time you come back. And you bring him back to and prove to me, show me that he's your brother and everything, and I will release to you the brother that I keep here. And the brothers have no choice but to go along with it, because Joseph is second in command in all of Egypt. He does have a different name, by the way. No one's calling him Joseph. He's got an Egyptian name that I'm not going to try and pronounce for you. There's no absolute way that they know that it's him. But they have no choice but to go along with what Joseph has told them. And so Joseph decides that his brother Simeon is going to stay, and so he keeps him. He takes decent care of him. I think he keeps him in a prison cell or something, or under. The implication seemed to be like under house arrest in a way, and wasn't mistreating him poorly or anything, but kept him as his prisoner basically. And so the brothers were sent back, and lo and behold, upon their returning to get home, it was on their way home, they stopped and to check their sacks of corn and flour and everything they bought, and they found that the money that they used to pay for their food was, each man had their own money that they had spent in a bag in the top of their sacks of food, at the very top. Joseph had commanded that the money be returned to all of them. But the brothers had no idea, and they freaked out. They thought a mistake had been made, and that this was totally not supposed to have happened, and they are all the more terrified about going back. They're very worried indeed. But they go on home, they get back to their father, and they tell him everything that happened. And Jacob says, wait, you want to take Benjamin, my youngest, you want to take him away from me on a dangerous trip through famine-stricken wilderness to a foreign land because some fucking magistrate over there or some shit doesn't think you're all brothers, he thinks you're spies. No. We're gonna last a good while. Simeon is probably dead by now. And I've already lost my son Joseph. I've practically lost Simeon now, and I'm not about to lose Benjamin. If something happens to him on the way, I can't bear losing any more sons than I already have now. And so that's it. Jacob puts his foot down. But the famine still has a ways to go, and lasts longer than the food that Jacob and his family have. And it comes time, and Jacob says, sons, I'll need you to go back and get us some more food. And the nine sons say, we're not going back without Benjamin. Because if we go back, I mean, not only are we not going to get food if we don't come back with Benjamin, we also might get in trouble for this extra money that we had in our sacks coming back. And that's just going to make us look a lot worse. And it's not going to get anywhere. Well, we're not going. We're not going without Benjamin. And finally, Jacob agrees to let them take Benjamin. So they take Benjamin with them back to Egypt. Joseph allows the brothers to reunite. Simeon with his other 10. And he treats them all to dinner and everything, and he even arranges them by age, without having asked them individually their ages, just to screw with them. And they take notice that they've been arranged in their proper sibling order, and they're a little bit freaked out by it, but they still don't seem to have a clue that it's Joseph who's entertaining them. But they hang out for a bit, and Joseph, does his absolute best to, and successfully pulls off acting like a complete stranger with them. And then finally lets them go. But he was not done with them quite yet. As they're leaving, and I'm changing a little bit how the story presents it in the Bible, but this is basically how it happened. The brothers are all leaving Egypt, and Joseph, well, he sends his main bodyguard, or his captain of the guard, I suppose, and out on a chariot to go stop them. And the bodyguard, or the captain of the guard, gets there. I don't believe it's Potiphar, but it's someone else with the same basic position. He gets there and he says, "Halt. We've had a robbery, and I need you to let down your sacks and let us check them all." And the brothers are... They're like, all right, we didn't do anything. And if someone did do something, sure, take him away, arrest him. Do what you got to do. But we didn't do anything. And they hadn't. They were completely innocent. But they let down their sacks, and captain of the guard is going through each one. And, and as it turns out, all the food that they bought, they had their money returned in the mouths, in coin sacks in the top of their sacks of food. Again. Oh, shit! I forgot. And they actually even brought back the money that was returned to them, and then Joseph had them keep it, and then so they bought food again this time, and so this time once again Joseph has returned their money without telling them. So Joseph is being super nice. He's basically paying for their food out of his own pocket, but that's not what the captain of the guard is looking for. So no one's getting in trouble yet, but he starts at the oldest, Reuben, and he goes in each sack down the line, and everyone's surprised to see another sack of money within their sacks of food. And they get all the way down, and then they get to Benjamin. They open his sack, and there's the sack of money in there. And there's also Joseph's goblet that he drinks out of, his royal cup. And it is in Benjamin's sack of food. And so Benjamin is arrested. And the brothers absolutely shit themselves. He says they literally tear their clothes, a sign of mourning, of crying, of sadness back then. And they all go back to Joseph once again. And they are pleading, begging for Joseph to let Benjamin go. Several of the brothers are making offers there, and Joseph said, look, you stole from me, and the person responsible, the person who had my cup, you can't just steal from me. Don't worry, I'm not going to kill him, but he's got to be my permanent servant now. The rest of you can go home, go back to your father, take your food, take the sacks of money with you too. But it was Benjamin that took it, that had the goblet in his sack. Oh, well, it's Benjamin that's got to stay. And the brothers are just not having it. They absolutely cannot accept this, because Jacob, their father, was so attached to Joseph, ridiculously attached. Played favourites way too much with him, but it absolutely destroyed him to have lost Jacob. He thought to have lost Joseph. Jacob thought that his son had died. That's what his sons had told him. That they had found his special coat of many colours that his father bought or made for him, covered in blood, and Jacob thought, oh no, an animal has eaten my son. And ever since then he was paranoid about losing his son Benjamin. And at long last he is convinced to let his son Benjamin go so that their family can have food once again. And the brothers, they're going hysterical, because if Benjamin doesn't go home with them, they know it will be the death of their father. Their father has already said, if Benjamin doesn't come back, the sadness will kill me. I will die of sadness. It will drag me down to the grave. That's basically how he puts it. And none of the sons want to see their father die, which is great. This is like the nicest unified effort they've done. They've done other things before together, but this has been the one good thing that they've tried to do. And they're pleading with the brother, and one of them even offers to trade places with them. I believe it was Judah. Yes, Judah himself says, and it's interesting that it's Judah too, because it was Judah specifically that came up with the idea to sell Joseph, and this whole time he and his brothers have been wondering if all this bad luck that they've been having from this foreign individual in Egypt has been a result of them selling Joseph, and their consciences are wreaking havoc on their minds, especially now that they're being threatened with Benjamin being taken away from them. But Judah steps up. Judah steps up and says to Joseph, look, we can't afford for Benjamin to not come home with us. Our father will very likely die of grief much sooner rather than later. We have to go home with Benjamin. He's been needing him ever since his other son died, that we told you about. He's just very attached to Benjamin. We really need to go home with him. Look, if you're willing, please take me instead. Let me be your servant for life in place of Benjamin, and let Benjamin go home. I won't be missed as much as Benjamin. But just take me instead. And that was what Joseph had been looking for this whole time. And finally, he sends all the other Egyptians out of the room to where it's just him and his brothers. And he turns to them and he says, guys, it's me. It's your brother Joseph, the one you sold into slavery. And his brothers enter a whole new level of shitting their pants. But Joseph has seen how his brothers have fought to protect Benjamin. Even though Benjamin is clearly the new favorite of their father, they've come around to regretting selling Joseph because of how grief-stricken it made their father. And now they have come to become very protective of Benjamin. So much so that the very one responsible for selling Joseph in the first place is willing to take Benjamin's place, to be a slave, to become the very thing that he made Joseph to be. And that's a full 180. 180? Yes, 180. A 180 for Judah. We saw him start out one direction earlier on in the story, being a very terrible example of a brother. And now he's had some time to make some things right with his conscience anyways. And here he is doing his absolute best to try and save the favorite of the family instead of trying to get rid of him. So we have both Joseph being a wonderful example of forgiving his brothers, although I wonder if he would have been not so forgiving if they hadn't learned their lesson. I wonder what he would have done then. But that's neither here nor there. His brothers did turn around, and Joseph forgave them, and they were reunited. He sent for his father to come. His father moved to Egypt with everything he and his sons owned, and he was reunited with his father again, and his father was super happy. Blessed the fuck out of all his sons before he died. And eventually he did die, and as did Joseph, but all his offspring and those of the other sons of Jacob all stayed in Egypt, and they grew in number over time. And then comes the story of Exodus and Moses and the great leaving of Egypt. It's never too late to turn around, to change your attitude, to start trying to do better. A good work ethic can take you places. Never give up, despite the bad things that happen to you in life. But those are the lessons from Joseph and Judah. Now, let's get on to the announcements for the upcoming month of December. So, I'm going to skip the next week as far as posting goes. I'm not going to do a video next week. I'm going to do preparation. And then the second week of December, I'm going to post a video about basically the 3 most entertaining aspects for me that made Christianity bearable as a child, that made it believable, enjoyable, I suppose. Veggie Tales, very popular one. Adventures in Odyssey, and then a not so popular but still pretty big one, Patch the Pirate. I'll talk about each of those briefly in a video, and how they sort of impacted me a bit, and I may do videos on them later at another time. We'll see. But I just wanted to share some of those, and some of the things I got from each of those, what those meant to me, and just to give a little bit more of a glimpse into, I guess, how pathetic it was being a Christian. That these things would entertain me, but like I said, I did a lot of traveling. I was a missionary kid. I didn't get to spend a whole lot of time with other kids my age, so hopefully it's an enjoyable video. I'm going to do my best to make it interesting and talk a bit about that. But after that video, I'm going to take another week off, and then the week after, it should be the 4th week, roughly around the same time as Christmas. I should be able to get the video posted right around Christmas time, if I can. But I am going to do one of the nativity stories from the Bible, from one of the Gospels. Believe it or not all 4 Gospels in the New Testament talk about the birth of Christ. They don't all, and they don't even all quite have the same story. I'm pretty sure one of them leaves the whole birth story out entirely. In the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you'll leave a like, subscribe if you haven't, share my videos with other people. Again, stay safe, my friends. Until next time, farewell.